Okay, so let's I'm you're the this is your show, but
Mm.
I think we should talk about that aspect
Sure.
after we show these, right?
All right.
Did you want to go ahead and officially start then?
So, right, I guess I should probably date and time this video. It's January 13th. We are a couple days out from Philly, and we currently know that at least two major distributors have dropped out of the show. I suspect in the next 24 hours, we'll hear about more people dropping out of the show. And I would say I had sort of been predicting this quietly in text to people that I thought this was probably going to start hitting around Christmas time. So I wasn't that far off.
Yeah, yeah, you just missed it by about a month or
Yeah.
two. Depends on how you look at it. Um, but yeah, things are definitely getting interesting out there. And I guess for viewers, whoever's watching this, they're probably wondering what our topic's going to be that you want to discuss.
So I have been approaching the past couple months in the pen industry from the creator side. I make content on brands, I work with shops, I work with distributors, I work with individual pen makers. You, on the other hand, are a pen maker. And in turn, our discussions have been very skewed around the maker industry, but we both are coming at where the pen world is currently at from different but similar perspectives, I think, where everything is changing very quickly.
It is changing very quickly. Prices are on the rise. I know gold is being discussed on all the other podcasts, and especially with the large price hikes that just came out from Sailor and
Yep.
Platinum, I believe, right? And Platinum did two price hikes 6 months apart, approximately, right? So people are blown away by that. Um, so it's getting a little interesting and crazy. Um, why don't we take a pin apart? Why don't we take a pin apart
Sure.
and we'll go
Here.
through it, right?
I've
So,
I've I've got one of your pens sitting in front of me.
okay. All right. So if you take it apart completely, right, the at the very core is a converter. And when I started 10 years ago, a converter was $1.
This one doesn't
Okay.
actually have one in
This
it. Sorry.
okay. So when I started 10 years ago, a converter was $1. And um, about 2023, a converter was $2.
Yeah.
If you go to buy a converter today in bulk, it's anywhere, and I'm talking about the plain Jane
Yeah.
K2 Schmidt, not the K5 with the metal ring, but the more what I believe, I complained about this before, right? The K2 is a little more robust. It's usually cheaper, right?
Yeah.
It's bordering around $4 in bulk. And when I mean bulk, I'm saying if you're buying like 100 units, it's around $4. And then the K5 is hovering between five and $6, depending on where you buy it from.
And
They're from Germany.
yeah, if you're buying them open stock individuals, I think I'm paying. We're also going to be talking in USD for the sake
Yeah,
of this discussion.
yeah,
Uh, I think I'm paying anywhere between like 13 and 19, depending on the brand. And
yeah,
a year ago, 2 years ago, that was basically unheard of. I think I was paying between 9 and 12.
yeah. And this is the heart of a standard pen, right? Is the converter. Some people treat them as, they use them for 12 months and they chuck them. Others take better care of them or have better luck and can last a lot longer. So the converter's gone up, and somebody might say, "Why are we talking about a converter? We're only talking about a couple of bucks." Well, let's keep going, right? So we already see an increase in the price of the converter, two or four times greater, depending on what point you want to look at. If you want to look at just, within the last 24
Yeah.
months,
Do you want this next?
yeah, why don't we talk about the nibs? Okay, so I'm not going to disclose maker pricing because you have to buy in serious bulk, right?
Yeah.
But I can give you proportions. So in 2016, the price of a nib was one fourth the cost of a nib today. One fourth. All right. So today a nib costs us four times more 10 years later. But the
Hmm.
majority of this price hike has occurred in just the last few years with a recent price hike, I think announced about a year and a half ago. So depending on when you caught inventory, right? You will,
And
it will
they've just gone up
go.
again, depending, like if you're getting gold Yovos, I think there are now over 300 open stock. I remember looking at them and going, I don't even like them, and I sort of regret not having one now because I'm just never going to add one to my collection at this point.
Yep. The Bach 8, the Bach number 8 gold, I want to say is like 460.
Yeah.
It's between 430, 460, right? And in 2022, that was $180, and people
Hmm.
thought $180 was ridiculous,
Like they
right?
they used to sort of fall into like the it's an expensive but a reasonable upgrade for a pen you really like if you don't want to go into a full gold nib pen. Like,
Mhm.
and now in some cases they are more expensive than a really nice gold nib pen. They are no longer justifiable.
Well, hold on. That argument I think is 100% valid a month ago, right? Because most people would
That is
look
true.
at a sailor or a platinum or even a pilot and they would jump all over getting one
The,
of those.
the real question is how quickly do I edit this? Because it's the 13th and the sailor price increase isn't until the 1st of February.
Yeah, so the 1st of February is going to be hitting soon. So regardless of when you edit it and launch
That's true.
this, I mean, the point is that the thought processes on what you do with your pens, what you're shopping for, what you're looking for, it's rapidly changing, especially if you're somebody that has to have gold, right?
It is changing. I think, sure, I was looking at my pen collection and going, okay, I can see like the next 12 months planned out. I could sort of tell who I was going to get commissions by, and I could sort of tell what high-end brands I was going to be looking at. I'm pretty consistent in what I like. And now I'm looking at this year ahead of me and going, I literally have no idea because we have no idea what pens are going to be on the shelves. We have no idea who's going to have inventory. And we have no idea where prices are going to land in a couple weeks because it
Yeah,
is sort of the first of every month, prices change in some
yeah,
cases. It is
yeah.
constant and relentless.
Well, right now, I think, the Pen Addict has mentioned the price increases along with many other people. Um, In addition to that, though, so that's primarily been a focus on Japan. But what
Hmm.
about the EU? There's numerous pen manufacturers in the EU, both maker and brick and mortar factories. They put out some phenomenal products, and their prices have always been, a little bit more competitive with the higher price stuff because the majority of them all provide gold nibs.
Hmm.
Um, and they're also getting hit too by all of this. So it's interesting to see when the EU starts showing up at the US pen shows what their pricing is going to be, or if they're going to be publishing their new prices for 2026, where that's going to put them. I'm trying not to necessarily call anybody out, but I mean all of us have at least like two or three Italian pen makers that we keep an eye on, and it's on the list of like one day I'd like to have this.
Yeah,
Um,
I have to say there are sort of people that I use as baselines in the industry. Like if XYZ are increasing their prices massively, we are going to see it as a trend through everyone else.
yeah,
And I've seen XYZ increase their prices massively. And so now I'm waiting to see where everybody else falls because there's no way that other people don't change their prices. Because I remember I had a conversation with somebody very early on in 2025, and their decision was that the industry could absorb about a 20% tariff. We were far past that very early on in 2025. 20% was pretty much the max the industry could absorb. And very quickly we went past that.
yeah,
And so now
yeah,
we
it's
are
true.
in a situation where I think everyone's just sort of trying to figure out how to survive.
Yeah, we've been talking about components primarily right now, right? We discussed the nib, we just discussed the converter, and the one thing we haven't covered is the resin. So the resin has gone up. Let me do some quick math, and this is in the last year. This is in the last year. We're going to divide 200. We're going to take 240, subtract 180, right? That's 60, and divide by the original 180. So resin's gone up 33%. Now, some of you might argue, oh, but you could buy your resin on Black Friday sale, or you could buy your resin on Fourth of July sale, or some sale. You can catch a sale. Sure, sure, you can catch a sale, but you have to consume that resin relatively rapidly,
Yep.
otherwise it starts to degrade. And what you're going to start to see is makers tell you, "I'm sorry, I'm not offering custom pours right now. You got to catch me on the next cycle
Hmm.
because the resin quality is going sideways as well." So not only has the price gone up, but it's sitting on the shelves longer. So by the time you get it as a maker, you're looking at it and there's certain things you can do with stuff that's been on the shelf a little bit longer, and there's other things you can't do. And so you have to strategize what is it you're going to cast and when. But there's a cost associated to that, right? I mean, 33% increase. Forget the fact that the quality of the product that you're getting is starting to vary greater than it used to, but you're now paying 33% more. And depending on the type of pen you want, it can be a significant amount of resin. So, most of the vendors, or sorry, how do I phrase this? So, most of you are familiar now with vertical tube molds,
Yep.
right? Where there's a rod of color and you end up with a certain type of pattern because it's a rod. And that's the most efficient use of resin. But when you do like the crazier stuff like I do, where it's a multi-step pour, you consume about twice the amount of resin per blank, right? And we've seen the blanks. I think if we look at some of the major pen makers right now, some of the rods
Yeah.
for a single, I
Blanks
won't say names right now. Yeah,
used
go
to
ahead.
fall at about 15 USD a blank. And I
Now they're
think
around 21.
I was paying 20, I was paying 19 at Washington, and I paid 22 at Empire. And
Yeah.
I'm now seeing things start to creep up towards 25.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a 25% increase minimum right there. And even that increase is lower than what whoever's cast. So I cast, right?
yeah.
So whoever's casting is still paying a 33% premium because the resin maker's charging them more.
And yeah,
Um,
that's not accounting for the pigment cost. And I know from my work in the watercolor industry, pigment cost in the past 5 years has skyrocketed. It had skyrocketed before 2025 began, and now it has, in some cases, doubled depending on the vendor you're going through,
mhm.
if not more. I know some vendors who have tripled their prices
Yeah. Yeah. And
because
there's,
it's supply and demand, and there aren't very many people that do it. And so, depending on what you're using, it is going through the roof. And a blank, I don't know how much a blank takes of the pigment. I know how much it takes in the watercolor world. So it doesn't, I know in the watercolor world, we don't need all that much, but it's still a lot if your prices have tripled on a component.
it's about minimum of half a gram per rod.
So a little, about 50% of what a pan of watercolor takes. A watercolor pan on average takes a gram for a half
Takes a
pan
gram.
of pigment
Okay.
per half pan.
Yeah. So most of us hover at a minimum of zero point 0.5 grams to 1 gram per rod. Um, some people use more, some people use less, but if just
Yeah.
you look at it, right? That's the easy numbers. So it's starting to add up, especially when you look at the cost of how much the micas are running. Um, I hit up some of the Christmas slash Black Friday sales from one of the famous mica manufacturers,
Hmm.
and I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention more on price and not the quantity. And so I clicked, I'm like, okay, $15, $15, $15. And then it arrived. And then I looked down and I'm like, crap, these are half the size I was expecting. Even with getting them on sale, it was still half the size I
Yeah.
was expecting, right? So it has definitely gone up. And, you know, it what do you do? What do you do? So you and I have had some really candid conversations prior to the tariffs hitting, right?
Yeah.
Um, we were having conversations about what do we do because you know where most of the stuff comes from. It's only sourced like one place in the world, and it's the place that's getting hit the hardest. So not only are some of the colorants for the micas primarily coming from an area that's totally being tariffed to Kingdom Come, so do a lot of the components that are disposable that we use in the manufacturing process.
Hmm.
All of our cutters all of our cutters primarily are coming from um, Korea, Japan, or China. And it depends on what specific brand. Unfortunately, like 80% of the stuff that's used in my shop, it's coming from China. And it's like, okay, well, Rob, why don't you buy American made? We don't make them.
We don't, yeah,
We
that's the thing.
literally do not make them. So,
The hardener for resin, it's not made here.
right.
It's not
Yeah.
made in North America. And so everyone is getting absolutely screwed in this process.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our dear friends was chatting with me yesterday or the day before, and he had just placed like an order for gloves and some mixing paddles and some other just like alcohol and a few other things, like just basic stuff for running running the casting side of things. And he was comparing the price that he paid today versus the price he paid like 4 months ago, and it's 50% increase. Um,
Yeah.
so it's getting brutal.
And
Um,
I think we're slowly reaching a point that I know I'm definitely seeing it in my comment section on videos and in my DMs, like people who were going, this isn't going to affect the industry are slowly coming to terms with the fact that this is actually really going to affect the industry. It is really affecting the industry, and it is affecting every component of the industry. The price of paper is going up. The price of all of the internal components of everything has gone up. There is not something I can think of that I use every day that has not gone up in price. And we're just going to keep seeing that. And
yeah,
it's this really fine line, I think, for makers and everyone of how do we continue to be involved in this hobby, continue to create while not absolutely losing our minds because everything is getting so expensive so quickly. I also think it's really interesting. My brother is very much in the electronics world. And so the price of RAM has skyrocketed
yeah, for
as the
different
price of
reason.
pens has
Yeah,
skyrocketed. And so we are having very similar conversations.
yeah,
Like it is skyrocketing for two very different reasons, but it is two industries that are dealing with something sort of similar, except
mhm.
totally different because their skyrocketing happened pretty much overnight and ours has happened over the course of the year.
Yeah. There was a lot of us because I know a few makers. I don't know everybody, but I know a few, and there's some that I'm close to. So we chatted about strategizing what to do for next year, and this was back 12 months ago. Okay, so this was 2024 October. We were strategizing what do we do, and so most of us hedged our bets and invested heavily on buying consumables that we need to manufacture pens that don't take up a ton of space, but they still take up space and they take up money. Cutters being one of them, nibs being another, converters being another. You try to be conscientious about, okay, what can I do to try to dampen
Yeah.
dampen these high lows? And okay, so fast forward, this is October of 2024. So 14, we're at 15 months now. Some of those consumables have been used up. It's time to restock, and everything that we've tried to do to hedge our bets to dampen the price increases, those are starting to evaporate, or they've been used. So everybody who got a pin last year, luckily didn't see much of a price hike for most of us because most of us had planned ahead for the year to come. And now that year has come and gone, and now we're trying to gear up for the next year, and it's costly.
Yeah.
Uh,
I, in January of 2025, I started to stockpile paper,
mm,
both watercolor and fountain pen. And I have basically run my watercolor paper stash empty. I'm pretty much out of paper. I've got a little bit of fountain pen paper left, but I hedged my bets the paper was going to go through the roof. And while I get ink supplied to me fairly often by brands, paper is a lot harder to get from brands.
yeah,
And so I bought quite a lot of paper. And I know that once that paper runs out, it is going to be costly to replace. It's just the way everything's landing in the industry right now. There are
yeah,
so many things that I look at and I go, I would love that, but there's no way to justify that these days.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And then some things don't age well, right?
Yep.
So you can buy things that are going to age well, durable type goods. Uh, Cutters, for example, they age well. You leave them in the drawer and they'll be fine in a year or two or
Yeah.
three or five. But
No,
resin, I can't buy resin at last year's prices and leave it unmixed and set it on the shelf. I got three
no.
months. That's it. Got 3 months to consume it. And
You can stockpile mica powders as long as they're not exposed to light, but you've got to know which colors are going to sell. And that's
yeah,
hard to predict in the pen world, where colors seem to come in and out with shocking fluidity.
yeah. And I have a different opinion on that one than some people do. And that is you can attempt to figure out what the next hype or big thing's going to be, right? And you try to jump on that wave first, or you come up with your own thing that kind of builds its own momentum, and then you're able to focus on what you're doing because it's your baby, and that helps dampen that out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, let's just call a spade a spade. We all know I do a ton of glitter and I do the double pours, and I don't pay attention to what the new fad is in regards to how people are requesting blanks that look like this or requesting blanks that look like that because mine don't look like those. They look like this.
And
And
you do some great single color blanks that shift
thanks.
and are super pretty. Like I
Thanks.
adore this. And at
Yeah.
some point will need the mechanical pencil
Yeah.
because it completes my set. But it is such a fun single color. And you've got a bunch of other really fun single colors.
Yeah. But more to see the bigger picture, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about Eric. Absolutely. I'm going to butcher this.
Atelier Lusso.
Atelier. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
Got to
my
put
French is
those
horrible.
9 years of French to practice.
Yeah, if it's Japanese, I can pronounce it now, but French, forget it. Anyway, so Eric, right? Eric has his own vibe,
Yep.
and it doesn't matter what the current fad is because Eric's driving his own fad. Like I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that he launched recently where he's got the stripes going on now, and some are complimentary and some are I forgive me, I'm horrible. What is it when something is a full like 180 in terms of colors so that it's kind of like that domino effect of black and white or it kind of shocks you a little bit, right? Eric's got
Yeah. I
juxtaposition. Juxtaposition.
oh, I can't remember what the word is either.
Okay.
I desperately want to see his pens in person someday. I've never been able to see his pens in person. I've only ever seen them online, but they look so
It's
cool.
it's dangerous for your pocketbook. It's really dangerous for your pocket because I've seen his stuff in person, and it's really hard just to not like want to buy everything. And I do own one of his like fully every single setting possible turned up to the max, right? So like the Makungane clip and the Makungane band, and then both the cap and the body um, with the abalone. Okay, in case many of you don't know, like I've known Eric for since 2016, and I love his work. Can't say enough great things about him, and he's an amazing human being. and his work's very, very much his, right? You see his
Yes.
pin in the wild, you know it's his.
Yeah, it's
Um,
there are some creators that you see one of their pens and you know it's theirs. It's like seeing a Jonathan Brooks pour on a pen from a brand and going, that's a Brooks.
mhm. Yep. Yep. Especially the PM1, or I know he doesn't like to be reminded, but the pastel PM. Hey,
Or
that was
Galaxy.
a yeah, yeah. The
I
Galaxy's wild.
love Galaxy. I've
Yeah,
got a
yeah,
blank
and
of
seeing those in
Galaxy
person.
sitting on my desk, still waiting to become something.
Yeah, whoever makes it, make sure they're good with internal polish, because depending on how your Galaxy came out, right, you can have some beautiful transparency, definitely translucency, right? So uh, there's a few people out there who are great with the internals, and I could see them really making that pop. But back to it, yeah. So with the micas, it's hard because you're right. There are fads, and either you ride the fad or you create your own lane. You create your own lane and build the momentum for that, just like Eric's done.
Hmm.
And I think I could say just like kind of I've done over the last 10 years. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a wild year. I mean, if anything, I think it's probably going to be the year of pre-owned for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I wasn't shocked at how many pens I started to see appear on the pre-owned market, but I've been shocked at the increase of maker pens in the past couple weeks. It has been rare to see maker pens on the secondhand market, or if you do see them, they tend to be at pretty much retail.
Yeah,
And I'd say in the last 2, 3 weeks, we've started to see more maker pens on the secondhand market at below retail. And that's been interesting. I wasn't expecting that. And I think it'll also be the year of people really, really being picky about what they add, like more so than we have in the past. I know that I'm definitely considering things more. And it's rare that I would have a blank on my desk for, I guess I've had it since Washington. So now we are like
yeah,
6 months into me having a pen blank, and I still haven't decided who's getting it
yeah.
or who I'm
Well, I
commissioning a
can,
pen from. And it's, I think we're definitely going to start to feel it more. We felt it on the big brand side. There have been so many price increases. Everything's been changing constantly. And I think in the next couple weeks, we're going to start to feel it more on the maker side as people start to run out of those consumables that they purchased ahead of time. Like you said, it's
yeah,
going to start hitting.
yeah. It is. I think it's also going to be the year of the Frankenpen. And let me explain. No, let me explain what I mean by that, though. So I think that was that you that we messaged about a sailor nib, right, on a maker pen.
Because
So
I was running errands with mom this morning when I saw it. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, what would this pen look like with a Sailor medium fine in it?
mhm,
Because I love a Sailor medium fine. And as much as I love the Yovo that's in this, it was tuned well. It's a great pen. There's something about a Sailor medium fine that I adore. And I don't know, actually, no, the episode is out. I have talked about publicly on an episode of Desk
mhm,
Chatter that if I got to Frank in a pen, it would be this pen with a Sailor medium fine nib in it. I
yeah.
just hadn't considered that actually being a possibility.
Oh, it totally is. And I think when I say it's the age of the Frankenpen, I don't mean that we're purposely going out and buying perhaps a Frankenpen, but I think what's going to occur is that people are become much more savvy about flexible nib factory, about what fits with what, and they're going to see a killer deal on a damaged sailor that's been crushed, right? Or it's just the nib, and it's going to be at a killer deal. So they're going to pick it up and then they're going to hand it over to one of their buddies, or they're going to watch somebody's YouTube video on how to take that nib and get it to fit into a Jovo or Box 6. What do you need to do? Where do you need to go? What parts do you need to buy? I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting creativity so that people are still being mindful of their money, but still trying to optimize on getting what they really want.
Yeah,
Um,
I think, and I've talked about this publicly, I think we're also going to see a lot more nib grinds. I think we're going to see a lot more custom grinds on stock nibs that are going into people's pens. Because at the end of the day, a custom grind on a nib isn't all that much money. And if you've got a whole bunch of Yovo size 6 nibs, suddenly that nib can go in a whole bunch of pens, and you've made a very small investment that lets you personalize a whole bunch of pens.
and that's a completely separate topic that if we want to we can discuss it, right? And let's look. I love my Nibmeisters so
Hmm.
much. And usually prior to a show, I've already texted them. They know I'm showing up with three pins that I'm going to hand them the night before the show starts, and just please just get them back to me before the show's over. But they're slammed now. Like all of
There's,
them are slammed.
yep. The only way I'm getting into people now is before show hours during vendor hours. I
Yeah,
have not successfully gotten a nib appointment with anyone since Scriptus 2024 was the last time I managed to secure a nib appointment.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't doubt that at all. I mean, San Francisco, even with knowing people, right? So forgive me for the viewers out there, right? So as a maker,
Yeah.
meaning I have a badge that says, I'm a vendor. I have access to people outside of the random hours. And I also have credit as the fact that I am a maker who's been around for a while. So I
Hmm.
personally know some of the Nibmeisters. Even trying to play all those cards, I still was not able to get a few of the grinds that we were trying to make work months in advance. But by the time the show hit, they got slammed so hard. I'm always going to tell them take care of the non-maker person first because I'm always going to see you, but you don't know when the next time they're going to have access to you, right? So take
Yeah.
it.
I would say that's my policy with people too, is that I am, if you've got a cancellation, if you've got 10 minutes, I will happily take your spot that you've got available, but I would much rather somebody who has never had a custom grind have an appointment than me have an appointment.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll be blunt. Like this last year, I hit up Matt Chen, and he's like, "Well, it's first come, first serve." And I'm like, "Yes, Matt, I know." He's like, "So you have to make sure you're here." I'm like, "Matt, I'm a vendor. I'm gonna set my stuff up, and I'm gonna come running over." And he's like, "Okay, so you do that and we'll see if you do show up."
Yeah.
And 20 minutes after the doors had opened for the vendors to set up, I was already there and I said, Matt, I'm here. Whenever you're ready, let's go. And so, he ground everything that he could until the doors officially opened for the regular guests.
I did that with Lax at Empire.
Yeah,
We had pre talked about it. He went, there is no way you're going to have time once the show's on. We are going to do this before the show floor opens. And at 9 o'clock, I was sitting down getting nib work done.
yeah.
And I
And
got
then
nib work, and mom got nib work, and I think somebody else got nib work. Because honestly, shows are so busy these days that it's the only way it happens.
yeah, I think Matt ground two ultra extra fine, no, three of his I'm gonna butcher the name. It's his version of the Naginata, right?
Yeah.
Um, got three of those in an ultra extra fine. He did all of that in like 35 minutes. The pens were clean, they were ready to go.
He
Um,
he can be an absolute beast at getting things done. He is Mama Chen talks to people, Matthew Ryan snips.
yeah, yeah,
They divide and conquer, and it's great.
I was super happy. And only one was for me. The rest were for my Japanese translators, right, who do write kanji. And so they've been over the moon because, that's what those grinds are designed
Yeah.
for. And I'm practicing now with mine. Anyways, I love it. And I also, a big fan of Kirk and his
Yeah.
architect. I think you have a Kirk architect now, I
Yeah,
think.
you're the reason I've
Yeah.
got a fine architect from
Fine.
Kirk.
And it does create line
It does.
variation.
It's great. It's fantastic. It's underappreciated, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I got made fun of when I requested that, not by Kirk, but by other people. And they're like, you can't even write in cursive with that. I'm like, I apologize, but I don't know what you're referring to because I can write in cursive with that fine architect all day long. In fact, here's my notebook and it's only cursive in fine architect. So, but don't put a cursive italic in my hands unless you want to cringe all day because my writing is atrocious and it's skipping all over the place because,
I write in print with my cursive italic.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can write in cursive with an architect, but not with a cursive italic.
Yeah, yeah. And my calligraphy mentor, um, she can write cursive italic all day long and posts all these videos, and it's amazing what she can do. But cursive italic in my hands, and you just want to take the pen away from me. I mean, seriously, because it's on a vanishing point Rodden pen, right? That looks amazing, and then here's Rob, like a 5-year-old, trying to write. So you want to officially disclose this one? You want to?
Sure.
All right. Um,
So you and I were both continuing I think it was Luke put out a really good post earlier this week about the pen community being one big family that all help each other because you just helped him with his hatch project.
mhm.
But that's not the first project you have helped Luke with. You and I recently worked on a project with Luke that was very sort of a very long process because I think Luke and I started talking about it in February of 2025.
Yeah, the manufacturing of them is the longer lead
It is.
item.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my assistant was more the CAD. He would draw up stuff, send a photo, and he's like, "Hey, can you make this happen?" And 10 minutes later, I'd send him the model, and he's like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's done."
Yeah. No, I
I'm like,
got
"Dude,
so many. I think the funny thing is, I think Luke and I started talking about it before you came to me with the hex pen design. I think he had brought up the idea to me just before you did the hex pen, like brought up the hex pen. And so in my head, this was sort of my first custom pen because I had been working on it for such a long time. In reality, by the time I got it, I had many custom pens.
yeah."
But for
Well,
months, I was sort of getting I would get these video files of what was going on. And then I'd respond with a whole bunch of notes. And then he'd tweak things, and then, the process would continue.
yeah, the end result of what he was able to accomplish was amazing.
Spectacular. It's stunning.
Yeah,
So you have one, I have one. They're very different. Here's
very
mine.
different. So mine's
Oh, you
is
have a
has
winter box. I don't have a
I have a
winter
winter
box.
box.
I got
So
mine in
mine's very wintry.
October. Mine is
Yeah, so
not in a winter box.
I
I
think
have,
everybody knows I love
yeah,
winter. So,
yeah. Oh,
but
yes.
wait,
I
there's
know.
more.
I
There's
know.
more. You ready? You ready? Everybody's
I
gonna
know.
real. I'm gonna get the hate mail now.
You're gonna get you're gonna get the comments about why can't I buy this pen?
So I'm purposely not showing the
I
nib.
know.
Everybody ready? Everybody
Mhm.
ready? It has the Laravel frosted nib. I need to find out what he officially called this nib, but this is insane. I mean, it's like it's frosted with ice
So I
on
just
this ice
have,
colored
yeah,
body.
I have the standard Luke nib, but I do have an extra fine architect from Annabelle on it,
Oh wow. Yeah, I do have one XF. Yeah,
or I
those
think
take
it's
some
an XF.
style.
Oh no, this is a medium architect. No, it just looks small, but they
Yeah.
are the work that went into them. Do you have the floral end cap on yours or
No, this
just the
one this
finial?
one's this one because it has that ice look.
Yeah.
He just did the flower roll stop. I'm just over the moon with, yeah, I'm just over the moon with all of this. I'm very much in love, very grateful, very thankful. All I did was some CAD that took me like 5 minutes, and just answered some questions here and there, and
It,
um,
I have to say, it was one of those projects in the pen world that was very much like a team project. Luke did all the hard work. I
yeah,
was just here to bounce ideas off of as a person that actually needed it to be able to get the cap off. But it was very much my hex pen was interesting because it was one of one. You did a lot of work on it. We bounced a lot of ideas off each other, but it was one of one. This was very different because this was going to be for sale. The pressure felt very different of this of having to get it right
yeah.
versus the hex pen where it was mine. And I don't know if you felt the same way. Like it was it sort of felt different than this, which
I
I
mean,
had like
yeah.
this is still one of my favorite pens because I can get the cap
Well,
off with one hand.
I'm glad to hear
That
that.
was one of the coolest moments ever.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, but uh, yeah, I'm still sorry. I get shy. So in case you can't tell, right? At the minute we start talking about me, I want to talk about somebody else. But yeah, Papa J's been awesome. Yeah, this is just phenomenal. Like so phenomenal. And then the Laravel frosted nib.
And
Okay, I'll try to
I
go
believe the
ahead.
blank is Elisa Marie, poorly controlled.
Yes. Yeah, so poorly controlled did the cap on this
Hmm.
one, and then Luke did the body. Luke's all about companion materials. That's the vernacular he uses in
Yep,
with his colorways. So he's always looking for something that's sparkly. He matches it with a companion that's a little more on the opaque side, but it still has translucency within it. Yeah. So he does a phenomenal job. He's got a very specific style,
yeah,
just like we were talking about before, right? Like you can either chase the fad or create the fad and ride your own wave. And Luke's very much trying to ride his own wave. This shows. This
yeah.
shows. But these, okay, like when he first told me he was going to make these boxes, right? And I'm like, all right, do you need any help? He's like, no, I got it. I got it. I'm like, okay, let's see it. And then he shows me, and I'm like blown away. Like, did you see the
Yeah,
autumn one?
yeah. I saw. So
Sorry.
I have the black one. So I have one from the first round of the boxes he did, and I remember him sending me a picture of them and going, like, this is crazy. And now I look at them, and he's just released new ones for Cali, and I'm like, my dude, these are so cool. Like, I love that we are seeing makers doing cool things with their packaging because the reality is these are not inexpensive purchases these days. If
Yeah.
you are getting a
Espe-
commission, you are in some cases waiting months, if not years. And I know people that have closed their commission lists currently. So yeah, I believe Newton's closed his commissions. Like people are starting to close their commission lists because also no one knows what's going to happen. And it's hard to be able to get a project from somebody if you don't know what it's going to cost them. And that's fair.
And that gets back to what we were talking about earlier about you can pre-buy a year in advance, but if you have commissions that roll into the second and third year, you gotta hedge your bets in some ways, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully you bought enough nibs to last your commissions list. But when it takes a year to get a commission, people
Yeah.
will sign up for nib X, okay?
Yeah.
And I'll laugh, and I'm laughing because depending on when I finish the pen, in regards to their journey for their current experience in the stationary world.
Hmm.
If I caught them a month earlier, it's going to be a medium. If
Yeah.
I catch them 2 months later, it's going to be a double broad. If they get into something funky, it's going to be like, hey, how about I go no nib because I want to get a flex nib from so and so. Hey, whatever, sure. So it's constant. This is one of the aspects that like once you do pick like your pen and if it has a clip or not and what's in the finial type of thing, the nib's like the last thing. And depending on where you're at in your journey, you're going to be changing your mind on that. And I know for some of you that might sound like, how dare you say that? But Like I
It's
started this world off as extra fine only. Then I went like crazy with all the Monty Winfield, the Fudes, and XL architects. And now I have to write small again. So I'm back to asking Matt Chen, can you hook me up with an ultra extra fine? You know?
yeah.
So
Like
your journey is your own journey.
I released a video this week on a pencil double guru. I
Uh-huh.
also currently have an extra fine inked up and everything in between other than a normal stub. I've sort of gotten to the point with custom pens when I'm getting them done that I will say, like, whatever you have the most of slash art selling that isn't a stub, I don't care. The reality is, I have a Pyrex full of nib vials. And so, as long as it's a
I've seen it.
Yovo, yeah, I can swap nibs. I have no
Mhm.
problem swapping nibs. And so, I would rather make your life easier because to me, it doesn't matter. I have gold, I have rose gold, I have black, I have silver, I have some rainbow nibs. Like, honestly, I have everything that I want, including custom grinds. And so, why would I be really picky and make your life harder when I can just go into my Pyrex tray and pick out exactly what I want on any given day?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is something that a lot of people who are getting custom pen work done can't do. And also, custom pens are a big investment and a big time investment. And there are makers that don't do custom work. Luke does not really do custom work. He does some stuff on occasion, mostly to do with people's wedding bouquets, but other than that, he doesn't do customs. I know a lot of people that are no longer doing customs because custom work is stressful. You are relying on somebody else's opinions of your work.
Yeah. So your work, your pen
Yep.
is essentially very custom, right? And it is now the foundation for a standard offering that Luke has, Papa J.
Hmm.
And we'll be seeing more of this style this year. Um, but in regards to true, and that was a true custom piece when he created it, and it came
Yeah.
together so well, right? That he
And
has a catalog offering now.
but when we were making it, he told me like we are making it so that it becomes a lineup in the shop. You are just going to be one of the first people to get it.
Mhm.
And at one point, I was actually going to have my hands on a prototype for a number of months to test it out. In the end, he ended up really liking it. And so I just ended up getting a pen and not a prototype, which I was totally happy with.
Yeah.
But I knew it was going into the catalog.
So custom work takes tons of time to develop, right? And some people will have partial custom,
Hmm.
right? Partial custom in that, this is style whatever, right?
Hmm.
Style A. Do you want style A or, they'll whip out style B or style C? Like pick from
Yep.
any of these styles and then pick your colorway that you want and we'll go from there. But then when you start asking for custom colorways, things start to get more interesting, right? And
Yeah.
from a cost perspective as well, just in materials, like every time I pour a custom colorway, it's $45. It's $45 and I can make two pins from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just pouring rods, the cost is significantly lower. It's it's a fraction of that. But because of the multi-step process involved, and it takes me 3 hours, by the way, 3 hours of actual labor. So 3 hours of labor and $45, and I have five blanks, and it takes two blanks per pen. So I have two pens and a spare. I've had back when I was first starting, I've had people want to change the colorway. And I've done up to three colorways in the past. And now I work with my wife who has an amazing eye for color, and we have color samples that will work with the client to really narrow it down. And then I'll go and work with my wife, and my wife will tailor it, right?
Hmm.
It's very much in the spirit or the vibe that the client was looking for. But my wife will have shifted some things darker or lighter. And since I've moved to that pattern, we've been down to pretty much cast it once, one and done type thing, which is fantastic because, we're talking about cost, right?
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to pay for the other two or three colorways we just burned through at $45 a pop? It's it's nuts. It's
It
nuts that it's
is.
$45. And I've come
And
up with methods to reduce it, but it's not the same. It's
no,
similar, but not the same.
and the amount of labor, because I'm assuming that $45 doesn't account for your hourly wage for 3 hours.
No, it's
And
just the
it's just materials. Like at the end of the day, I think everything in the pen world this year is going to hit a lot harder because, as you said, people are running out of their stockpiles of materials. We are all trying to figure out what's next. And at the end of the day, custom work has already taken time. And now we're dealing with the issue of the resin for custom work, the resin for custom blanks has a really short shelf life, all things considered. And you need to be able to catch somebody in a cycle of them doing blanks.
yeah, yeah. There are people who cast regularly, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there are people that cast regularly on the regular and they have much more different time ratios on time in the shop versus time with family and time with their other job. And some people do it full time. And for those people, they're a little more flexible.
Hmm.
Um, I unfortunately have a full-time job and I'm also required to learn another language right now, right? And I'm married. I'm sorry, let me rephrase this in case my wife ever watches this. I am married. That's first, right?
You're married, full-time job, and having
Full-time
to learn
job,
Japanese. So
right?
three things.
And then being a pen maker,
Yeah.
right? But if my wife has certification, yes, she does. She does come first.
And it's
She's
important to
supposed
have
to.
things ranked in the right
Yeah.
order.
Yes, yes, yes. Been married 23 years later this year, so want to stay that way. But all jokes aside, here I will take a moment and I'll talk about not necessarily about myself, but about my clients.
Hmm.
Um, I know the last 12 months have been hard on all of you. I know that some of you have had to cancel because life's handed you a bad deck. You've either gotten sick, you've had family members get sick, or you've lost your job. Some of it you've been unfortunately, you're in research that sticks to facts, and those facts are now deemed no longer valid. Librarian, I have quite a few librarian clients that have lost their jobs as well, and yeah, it's all over the board. So I completely understand that, and um, I will disclose, my cancellation rate has skyrocketed. And I do this for the art. I reinvest everything that I do either back into the shop or back into the pen community. And Alexander and I have had very private conversations about where I'm reinvesting and who it's going to
Yeah.
and why I'm trying to support certain artists and stuff like that. So it is a valid statement, but it's getting really hard for people. And I can see it. I can see where it's really getting hard for people because they've had to cancel. And then some of them have told me what the reason is behind them canceling. And it's sad. And so 2025 is going to be, or sorry, 2026 is going to be interesting. 2025 was definitely wild.
2025 was a time.
Yeah.
Like I'm I'm looking at the year ahead and I tend to have a pretty good vibe of how the pen industry is going to go over the course of a year, how the watercolor industry is going to go over the course of a year. And I'm looking at the year ahead and I'm going, I have no idea. If you ask me now where we were going to be in 12 months, I have no idea because I'm looking at brands that have always seemed really safe as sort of mainstays in the community, not attending events they'd normally attend due to issues. I'm looking at brands that we normally see have inventory at stores now going on months of not having inventory. And I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, all we can do is plan or pray for the best, I guess. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. You know, some of the junior guys have asked me for some advice, and I told them, I'll be blunt, this is probably the darkest advice I've ever given them, and it's like, don't put anything on credit.
Yeah,
Um, Figure out what you can make and sell now at a price point that's appropriate for the quality of the work that you're making and bankroll that to support expanding what you want to do. But don't put it on credit because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And I preface this with that's dark, dark advice, but it is. I want to be more sunshine and roses than usually I am, right? I'm all about the sparkle and the and as many
yeah.
colors as
Like
possible. But
I think at the end of last year, I kept saying to people, if you have been waiting to buy that special pen that you've really wanted and you have the money to afford it, I would not wait until 2026. If you can afford it and justify it and it does not put you out, don't wait and don't also would you love it with 40 or 50% more added onto the price?
yeah. I mean, we've
Because
talked about my adventures, right? Where I've seen a pen for $900 and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna wait until next year because I want to be more comfortable with buying a $900 pen. And then next year comes and that pen's like $1,400. And now it's, I
yeah,
think, around $2,000. I got to go back and check. It was a KOP. It was a very
yeah.
specific KOP. And yeah, it's got a bit nuts.
I had a discussion recently with somebody about a sailor pen and they quoted me a price and they said, but that's the old price. And I said, what's the new price? And they said they haven't disclosed yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting place to be in the industry where people just don't know what the price of things are going to be until they are appearing in shops because
Yeah.
things are changing so rapidly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. We'll see.
We'll see what this year brings. Thank you for talking about it from the perspective of a maker, because I can harp all day long about the fact that people don't want to be increasing their prices and that the price of raw goods goes up all the time. But it is different to hear it from the perspective of somebody who is actually making pens and dealing with the price increases when they
Yeah.
have to shop for inputs.
Yeah. Even sandpaper, polish, it's all gone up.
I hadn't
Like,
even considered sandpaper, but you're right. Like when we go to the hardware store to buy stuff, like prices of things are,
okay, so one last thing, and then
yeah,
I'll let it go, right? So like all of us have our favorites to manufacture or to use in the manufacturing process
yeah.
with very specific brands. And you don't cross beams when it comes to sandpaper. You got to like stick to your brand, otherwise the sizing's all off and everything. So the last time I bought my brand, I bought like 100 sheets of each of the different grids, right? And so now I'm looking at having to go back and buy it, and I can't find who's selling it anymore because it's coming from Europe. So now I gotta find a new importer to buy it from, and I'll be not only paying the extra higher price, but also most likely having to pay an extra shipping fee that wasn't there before. So,
So that's a really fun game we're playing in Canada currently
oh
called
yeah,
Who the fuck is this importer? Because so many companies are spinning off from the US distributors and trying to find Canadian distributors for our things in the fountain pen world.
yeah,
Except
yeah,
there are pretty much no Canadian fountain pen distributors. Parker and Waterman inks disappeared from the shelves, I want to say 2.5 years ago, and have been nowhere since then. And I am finding that there's been a more steady decrease in what I can actually buy here. The biggest difference for me, though, was I was looking at Traveler's inserts.
hmm,
And it used to be cheaper for me to buy my paper all from Atlas. For years, I've been buying my paper in bulk from Atlas and shipping them to whatever show hotel I'm staying at because it was saving me about 20% to buy them in the States. It is now cheaper for me to buy them locally because they are on par USD to Canadian D.
Yeah, that's
So
brutal.
the same insert costs the exact same amount in the US and Canada, except it actually is costing 40% more in the States because the Canadian dollar is worth 40% less than the US dollar.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's driving a lot of people to also delay delivery, um, or don't ship here. I need you to ship to New York, or don't ship here. I need you to ship to Seattle, um, or uh, I'll be at this hotel for these 2 weeks. Ship it there. Um,
Yeah,
right, which is legitimate. I can ship anywhere in the United States. You just tell me where you want it to go, and you come to the United States and you bought a souvenir. You just happened to buy it 9 months ago, put it on commission, and it's complete, and you're picking it up.
as a Canadian, we still have a duty-free amount we're allowed to bring home after
Yeah,
every trip to the States. There's an amount dollar-wise that we are allowed to bring home.
yeah, yeah. So
And
we are seeing a lot of that, and we're rolling with it. Whatever we can do to help.
we get $800 a person if we're out of the country for 48 hours of duty-free back. And so if
That's pretty
I'm
good.
traveling with somebody else, that's suddenly $1,600. But at the same time, it's like stuff has gotten a lot more stressful now that it's like everything is tariffed at a much higher rate than it used to be.
So here in the US, they have this add-on thing that like automatically gets loaded and you have to uncheck it, and it's this extra insurance. And it's like the sell and sorry, when I say the seller, I don't mean like mom and pop. I mean like a legitimate brick and mortar,
Hmm.
website, everything. Like Alumilite's one of them, the resin manufacturer. The other one
Hmm.
is some of the turning supplies that we use. It automatically populates, and you got to like
Yep.
go to unpopulate it, and then you're like doing the math. You're like, well, wait, how much am I going to get screwed here if something does go sideways? It's the holidays, so you're like, to heck with it, and you're paying the extra $10 or whatever because it's a 400 or an $800 order, and you're like, I don't
Yeah.
have.
Sometimes I do it too. Like we have the same option here. And sometimes it's just worth it, depending on where like what the threshold is of how much am I buying? How critically important is this to the next couple weeks of my life? Especially if it includes the delivery estimate. Like if it's a we will get it to you by this date or we will send it again. And I have to get something by a certain date, I will often choose that option because it's there are points where I have to have something by a certain date for a project.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. Well, we will see how the rest of the year goes and how the shipping goes.
Yeah, it is. What's the date today? The 13th of January. We'll see
Yeah,
what
I
happens
know.
when I turn on my phone.
Yeah, I know people have already dropped out of SF, um,
I
from
think,
from Asia.
yeah, I think the next couple weeks in the pen world are going to be particularly turbulent. And it's going to be interesting to see how the industry absorbs the next couple weeks, how much can be absorbed in the next couple weeks. I'm actually going to Philly, so
Oh wow!
it'll
All right.
be interesting to be there and see what it's actually like in person. Because I sort of feel I'm sort of in a bubble up here in Canada
Yeah.
where I
It's
know what's going on, but I'm separated enough from it that it's going to be interesting to see what it's actually like in the pen world at a show, especially because Philly's the first show of the year.
mhm. It's the first one, and some people are going there. Some people are going to LA in February. We'll see. I'll be there on Friday, hanging out, visiting people. So I'll check
Yeah.
out how the California Pen Show in Los Angeles goes in February. And I wish you guys luck in Philly. I know a few people that have dropped out. but they announced it earlier. They had made that decision like a month or two ago, not just yesterday. So
Well, I think the decision was probably made before yesterday. I just hadn't checked the vendor list since the vendor list has been updated like every couple days. I had printed off the December 29th update, and there's been a more recent update since then with brands dropping out.
yeah,
So,
yeah, we'll see, man. People don't feel comfortable crossing that border.
yeah, and people don't have inventory. If people
That's
don't
true.
have inventory to supply shops, they're not going to vend at the pen show.
Yeah,
It's a bad look.
yeah, and it costs money.
It
It
does.
costs money to go.
It's
It's
not,
not free.
yeah, it's not free. It's not cheap.
Yeah,
Well, thanks.
no problem. Thank you.